What?
This isn't counted anymore, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't change, it doesn't change.
Good to know
That's not
what
the law
it's getting
says.
rid of.
Right,
What
that's
it
what I'm
carried.
saying, okay.
You want to share that?
Sure. What other goods can I get rid of? This was one more proposal for discrimination.
See.
That's been kind of work. Yeah, what you need more.
Ya era una manguerita que nomás la arreglaba, porque como nos queríamos arreglar, era el tiempo que empezaba el río, entonces no había. Entonces se me arregló nada más hasta que ya pase el río y se me fue el cambio.
Good. Yeah, did you have a copy of that? Thank you.
It's,
I
it's,
didn't bring it,
ours,
I printed it off. Thank you so much. That's great.
What does she pronounce her name? It's right here. What does she pronounce her name? Guanitu? No, I'm just curious, I never, I can see it, I just, I can't.
Say, why you do? That's why I said she never corrected me.
How do I do it? Oh, I found my car. Sheila Fly?
As far as I know, yeah.
I don't know what time it is. It looked like
She
it
was
was
supposed to go out yesterday.
6:44.
And there's
6:34. Who's the vice president?
what do you call those locks on your door? Somebody can get in and show the apartment, like that.
And who's the secretary? I'm trying to figure out who's took the dog.
No, the dog's staying with his parents
Okay.
till she,
I was-
he's going to
that's
go,
what's president.
but not
I'm
until she
learning.
gets settled.
I'll get there.
Everything.
Well, you're the most vocal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's always better. What happened?
Sure. Copy of the report. All right. Let's do it. We need to call a meeting to order.
Yeah. On the order at 6:35.
If y'all normally have a resident time at the beginning, it's always a good thing to have on the agenda. Okay. So
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes our communities have it at the beginning and at the end. Sometimes it's just at the beginning, sometimes just at the end. So you're calling that.
I'm sorry.
It's about residence time. I'm barely ready.
Oh, he says spin it like at the end of the meeting.
Okay, either way. So I'll move this on the, move from the agenda, move it to the bottom.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So the first thing you guys should do, once the regular board meeting has begun, is to approve the minutes of the prior board meetings. Whatever you have left that was outstanding.
Okay.
So that's, so you just need, even though you reviewed them by email and you've exchanged them, you got them up to date, you need to just say, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the January
two-
5th meeting, and the December
January
meeting.
5th and December 18th. Okay, so.
And then it's in the minutes that you approve the minutes. So they're official, and I get a copy of them, PDF file, and all set
Okay.
for the others. So somebody make a motion to approve the two previous, is there two meetings, or is there three?
Yeah, okay,
It's-
so I make a motion to approve the January 5th, 2015 meeting minutes and the December 18th, 2014 meeting minutes. All in favor?
Okay. Page A1 of your report. Sort of give you an idea how this thing works. I have an agenda on the outside, obviously. That's what I post in the hallways. Since you're always meeting on the last Monday or the fourth Monday of the month, it's less essential that it be posted. We'll always post it anyway, because everybody knows now that the meeting's on the fourth Monday of the month. The first two pages of the report usually are just a summary of whatever else is back there. So if you don't have time to do anything, just try to go through these first two pages of it. Usually it refers to some exhibit that's further back in the report. Like the item A is the minutes, which would normally be attached as exhibit A. Next month I'll have them in the, if it works out that way, I'll have them in the report, so they're there. But then the next exhibit is the delinquency list, which is pretty lengthy. I think a lot of the people on the list didn't get the message. It's hard to miss it when you get a piece of paper in the mail and it says assessment notice and Westbriar coming in and everything else. We didn't charge anybody any late fees. We just we sent out delinquency letters today, and we'll talk about what kind of mailing we want to do for the February assessment. I was planning on having coupons ordered already, but I wanted to send out one more mailing because there's some things we probably are going to want to mail, and I figured we could just send this at the same time. It doesn't matter, I can have the coupons probably in the mail by tomorrow, but matter of fact, I know I can have it in the mail by tomorrow, but it just made more sense to try to do a regular notice with an envelope and do like we did last time, unless you want to be different. We can talk about that after this meeting's
So you sent the late letters
today.
today to like all these?
Yeah, everybody on this list everybody on this list except the ones that are less than $40, 200 or $10.
Yeah.
They didn't get late notices. But everybody else on the list would have gotten a notice.
And it was sent out today.
The second page, A2, is the list.
I have a
Sorry.
question before you can. Are you gonna send them to me for collection at some point? Do you have a
Yes,
policy on
and
that?
we'll discuss the timing. I would guess it's after 2 months, after the second month is delinquent, or maybe the third month.
Yeah, 60 and 90 days is pretty standard, so.
What's the maximum for a lien is 6 months?
Yeah, 6 months.
So we'll never get that far, because if at these rates, it adds up pretty quickly.
Yeah, sure.
But I think most of the accounts that need to be referred to the attorney are already with Andy,
Yeah,
for sure.
it looks like it,
Yeah, if you could go through there and make a list of whatever you have, then I would know which ones to,
And, yeah, I need to do that. I'll send
if
it
you could
over.
just check them off, then we'll know which way to go. Normally after that, I would have the financial statements, but I don't have them. I did do them in my email today from NRP. I've already set up what they gave me, and I'll have the February ones for you with no problem. But did you all get the email from NRP with the financial statements in it?
Yeah.
I didn't really spend a lot of time going over them. I've been dealing with NRP with the bank closing issues and stuff like that. So anyway, the first two pages of the report refer to the rest of the stuff that comes with it. So if you just glance at it, you'll see something about the delinquency report. I usually try to add something, some other sort of commentary to it. And the financial report part of it, I'll try to explain what the major variances for the month were and what caused them. I'll always have a summary of where the association's money is located, which is the bottom here. I didn't know where it was since I had the December financials. And then whatever else comes. On the second page, we have the trash contract and plumbing and exterminating and the resolutions and the other stuff. And usually those exhibits all are what make this thing so huge.
Okay.
If we had the monthly financial statements in here, this thing would have been another 20 pages thick. So it'd be a pretty big package. I'll try to deliver them. When I deliver the agenda, I try to deliver the reports to the people who live on the property. And I try to email the other one, but I didn't remember to bring my list of where everybody lives, so I couldn't deliver it to the property. So I just went ahead and emailed, everybody had an email,
Yeah.
so you could at least read it beforehand. You had a chance to review it, but then I'll give you the hard copy, because I don't want anybody to show up that doesn't have a copy of the report, because then it doesn't you don't really know what we're discussing. I can't point you to page 13 and say, here's the proposal for this, because you don't have the piece of paper with you. So, okay. So there really isn't much to talk about on the lengthy list, other than we got notices out, and we'll work with Andy and make sure we get the ones that need to be the attorney updated. The key and extermination resolutions, it starts on page B2. B2 is the cover memo that would go with the resolutions if you decide to pass them. If you don't want to pass them, that's fine too. It just basically says the board adopted these two resolutions and what they do. And those are pretty up to date. The first resolution is on page B3, which is the courtesy key program. And it is a courtesy key. It's not a mandatory key program. I did update, I couldn't find the electronic copy of it. So I just went ahead and wrote over this one, things that needed to be changed. But basically, the first part of it, all the whereas, is the authority to do this, to adopt rules, and that you all do have right of access to the units based on the bylaws of the association to do inspections and to correct problems and et cetera, et cetera. And it happens that we need to, we've had, I guess, at least 6 or 8 in the sort of 60 days that we've been managing the community where we've had to get access. So it's a pretty useful program to have. If somebody calls and said water leaking through my ceiling, I can get somebody there pretty quickly, but if there's nobody home, then I can't do anything to fix the problem. So the whole point of this resolution is what comes on the bottom of page 3 and in page 4, is that all owners are requested to voluntarily provide us with a copy of the key to their property and keep those keys up to date, and that we'll only use those keys in cases of emergency or when we've told you that we need access and you fail to provide access. If we have a courtesy key, we use it. The other part about it is that those keys aren't for, if you didn't show up, if you're at a desk road and you showed up and forgot to bring the keys with you, it's too bad. You can't have the keys that we have. Those are only for emergencies. They're our keys. They're not still your keys. As a homeowner who's locked out, there's no office to call anyway, so you can't call the office and say, I need to get my key because I'm locked out. It's just too bad. And you don't have to participate with this. That's the whole point of this thing, is it's a voluntary program. If you choose not to provide a key, and we tell you that we're going to be in on Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and we have an appointment, and you're not there, then there are other repercussions because you are required to provide us with access. So we wouldn't have a locksmith with us that day, but if we scheduled again, we would have a locksmith with us so that if we had to get access, we could get access. And it's particularly important when you're doing mandatory extermination, because that is a mandatory program. You have to provide us access so that we can treat for insects in your home. Otherwise, it's pointless to have the treatments at all. But this key program is purely voluntary, and we don't use the keys for any other reason other than what we've stated before, which is emergency access or planned access. I would envision that if we had the courtesy key, if we had the extermination program going on, Willing might have keys to 8 out of 10 doors in a particular building. We would make appointments with the other 2 homeowners, and he would have the other 8 keys, and he would use those keys to provide the exterminator with access, and everybody gets their home treated. We would have the keys in the lockbox, which we would buy, and we would put it in a safe place and be bolted down. It would have a lock on it. If push came to shove, we could have it stored off property, just to make sure that there's not any concern about the safety of the keys. That's the gist of the courtesy key program. I think it's useful. I think it's important to have access. Do you have any thoughts?
No, as long as if it's a voluntary program, and it's very clearly delineated, I don't see any problem with it.
If you don't pass I think even if you don't pass the extermination resolutions, I think it's important to have this one. And again, it's voluntary. So when we take good care of the keys, we know that that's access to your home and everything that's valuable to you, your family. We clearly respect the importance of having those keys, and we treat them accordingly. The second resolution is the extermination services. This one is similar, it's a similar authority. You have the right to create rules for the association, particularly when they concern the operation and use of the individual homes in the common areas. So if there's problems with the particular unit that's causing problems throughout the whole community, then you have a right to create rules that allow us to address those problems on a broad scale. I still say if you think this is going to be controversial, then I wouldn't have any extermination service offered. I would just tell everybody they're responsible for their own extermination service. We would treat the common areas for roaches, which would be the laundry rooms and storage and any other little mix, the room back here, that kind of thing. But we wouldn't offer any, if we're not offering it, if everybody's not taking advantage of it, there's no reason to do it. So, and there's no reason to pay for, to have half the people paying for, to have everybody paying for a service that only 20% of the people in the community are using. That's not the way that the system is supposed to work. So, if you are, because now it's chemical sensitivity is a big issue. If you have chemical sensitivity and you don't want your home treated for any reason, that's fine. But you still have to provide access for the inspection, which you have the legal right to demand. People have to allow you access to inspect. That's part of the bylaws of the association. And if the exterminator came in and he said, yeah, there's no problems here, then there's no problems there. If you have your own contract with Orkin or something, and they treat your home, all you have to do is provide us with a copy of the contract, keep it up to date, and that's fine. That's meeting the requirements of the mandatory extermination program. The contractors would like to use the spray. I prefer to use the gel baits because you don't have to empty out cabinets and do all that other stuff, but in order to get a handle on the problem, they need to be a little bit more aggressive, and the sprays are more effective than the gels. If they come into your home and you're not prepared to have the spraying done, then they would put the gel baits. And the baits are safe. There's not a problem. There's no secondary poisoning. I believe it keeps the cockroach from forming a hard shell. I think that's what the chemical in it does. So if the cockroach eats the bait, it isn't able to molt. The hard shell that protects it from other cockroaches is affected, and they are basically eaten by the other cockroaches. Anyway, and that all depends on which exterminating company you decide to use, if any. So I think they're both useful. What my recommendation would be is to pass both of them and to include the memo and the assessment notice and give everybody 30 days to respond with their concerns about these resolutions. You don't really have to, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself here. You can pass them and distribute them, and they're the rules. There doesn't have to be a discussion about it. You can not pass them, you can distribute them and get responses, and then pass them at the February meeting if everybody is pretty much in agreement with passing them. But I would still send them out along with the bill for the February assessment.
Okay.
So that's where we are. What would you like to discuss about this?
Can I just explain?
Yeah.
Okay, so estaba hablando de exterminador de cucarachas. Dice que la opción que tenemos es pasar una resolución que todos tienen que participar en ese programa. Entonces va a haber inspecciones y va a haber tratamiento. Si la persona es sensible al tratamiento, tiene que mostrar que tiene otra persona que está dando el tratamiento de las cucarachas. Porque la idea es que todos participan, si no queremos hacer eso, entonces que cada uno se encargue de su unidad. Entonces, él está sugiriendo que, bueno, si es que vamos a pasar que esa resolución, que todos tienen que participar, que envía una carta diciendo que tenemos esa intención de pasar esa resolución y ver cómo opinan.
But Michelle, in the meantime, we don't have a exterminator company right now. So we're gonna wait till February to have the treatment for the
That's
correct
correct.
right now?
Yeah,
Right.
but it's not it's not an obligation of the association to treat the individual units. It's something that the board of directors could decide if we think that the members, you guys are in favor of it. But it's not an obligation the association treat inside the unit, just that we treat the common areas.
The reason you offer that service is because it's a benefit to everybody and everybody benefits from it. You get your home treated, you make sure your neighbor's home gets treated, but if everybody doesn't participate, then it doesn't work. So if it was a group of people who were getting a benefit that everybody was paying for, but everybody wasn't getting the advantage from, then the board would have never offered it in the first place. But it's a service that the board thinks, or thought in the past, was something that the whole community could take advantage of. So that was the original purpose for it. The problem now is that the exterminating company is, so if you wanted your home treated, you would send me an email or call me, and then I would send an email or call the exterminating company, and then they would have to get in touch with you to make an appointment to come out and treat your home. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It's a burden on us, it's a burden on the exterminating company, and it's not very effective because only one person or 2 or 3 people wind up getting treatments. And from what I've heard from the exterminating company, half the people who make appointments aren't there or they aren't ready when the exterminator comes out to treat their homes. So they're spending all the money to go through this program and all the effort, and hardly any benefit is being accrued from it. So we're trying to make it a program that everybody has to take advantage of, or has to take advantage of.
Well, when I had the appointments in the past, I'd always been there. Actually, 2 times they didn't show up, and I was waiting
Right.
for the whole
And you
month.
see the point though, is that they didn't show up, or you didn't show up, or you had to leave, or, I don't mean you, I'm not.
No, I
Yeah.
know,
But we're trying to make it so that the exterminator is going to be here at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning. He'll be here for 3 hours. He'll treat as much of the building, as much of the property as he can on Thursday. He'll come back on Friday. He'll treat as much as he can on Friday, and then on Saturday, we'll finish up with whatever ones we haven't been able to take care of, or whoever couldn't be home on those other days. And we'll have a locksmith, and we'll do everything else we have to do to make sure we get access to everything. So the plan was to have it over 3 days, to try to get as many of them as we could get done on the weekdays, because the weekends, we can get, some of the exterminators won't work on weekends, or they'll charge more money. Clearly, there's an advantage to do it on the weekends, but you also have a house full of people on the weekends. And if you're spraying bug spray around, most people don't want to be at home. So you kind of don't want to be there. You want to be there to make sure it gets done, and you probably want to go somewhere. So it's better to do it during the week. But, and actually, the little bit of them all turned out to be the company you're using now. And they said, we'll do it on Thursday and Friday, hopefully we'll get everything done, but if not, we'll come back on Saturday and do the rest of it.
Now, is this something that also you said maybe Willie would be willing to sort of supervise and make sure that?
Yeah, he can, well, he'll be there with them, he'll provide them with access.
Right.
Because we're not giving courtesy keys to the exterminator.
Okay.
We won't give, those keys wouldn't ever get out
Willie's hands.
of mine or Willie's hands.
Okay.
People representing management, so if, I wouldn't give you a key to go to someone else's house especially. So those are, they're not my keys, but I'm responsible for them. I'm going to make sure that they're safe. But Willie would have the keys. He would make sure that all of the homes get treated. Obviously, we would do the ones where people are going to be home first. That would be the first group that would be the easiest group to take care of. The other thing is, unless you have the courtesy key program, then I would have keys to provide access to those homes with anyway. So you kind of, and we have to have some time to get the keys before we can actually get in to use the keys to get into, to do the exterminations. So it's kind of a little bit of a chicken and egg here.
Yeah.
And I would envision doing this about every 9 months. And the homes that don't have a problem, if they want a BAID system, we can do the BAID system, but we'll still inspect about every 9 months, 6 to 9 months to begin with, maybe every year after that. It's going to be a pain in the neck, and you know, nobody wants to do it, but it needs to be done. So
It
that's
does
where-
need to be done. I want to say that that's the primary complaint that I've been hearing over and over again, is the pests.
Well, the biggest complaint I get is about mice. And the reality
Mice,
about
right.
roaches is that you can treat yourself. You don't have to have the association do your roach treatments for you. You can make sure that you don't have any openings in the wall, under your pipes, under the sink and stuff, and just treat yourself.
The mice too.
Well, the mice, yeah, the mice you can treat yourself also. Well, to me, the one responsibility you absolutely have is to get rid of any mice or rats that are in common areas.
Yeah.
And those are, I mean, the only place I can see that's got any bait stations are the dumpsters, which really isn't an issue because the rats have plenty to eat at the dumpsters. They don't need to come into the buildings when they can just feed at the dumpsters. It's the ones that are around the buildings. And this time of year, they're coming in because it's warm.
Yeah.
And all you need is, you have an air conditioning duct, a hole through a wall, and it's got a little tiny hole. You know how small mice heads are. If they can get their head in, your whole body can fit in. It's
Yeah.
one of the wonders of nature, and
The
it
kids,
doesn't take much.
When they drill holes, they come
Right,
over there.
it's like a hole about that big is
Yeah.
more than big enough for a mouse and sometimes even a rat to get in. But the other part of this is we plan on installing bait stations around the whole property. That's separate from this, but that's the one thing we absolutely will do. This isn't a requirement. It's, if people don't, that's why I kind of like it to hear what people have to say. If you get 10 or 20 or 30 people who complain that they don't want the service and that it's some kind of huge invasion of their privacy, and then it's fine, and just won't do it. You treat them yourself.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight with people over a service that I think is providing benefit. If they don't want it, we're not going to, I don't think we fight over it. But the common area stuff, we obviously have to take care of.
Yeah.
But once you get inside the walls, it's not our responsibility anymore. So what do you want to do?
I prefer to make it mandatory.
Okay. Do you want to pass the resolutions, or you want to distribute the resolutions and then let people comment on them, which I think is a safer way to
I
go?
think
So-
we'll do that.
Right, how much, I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm wondering how much longer is it going to take if we do that?
30 days.
Oh, that's fine.
We lose 30 more days.
Sí, pues
We'll be
ahora
treating
sí,
for
pues,
mice in the
pero
meantime,
yo
but we
o
don't
mandar
treat for roaches
a-
until probably March.
para que ellos, si están en contra o en favor, se opinen. Después de eso, tomamos las respuestas del papel, tomamos la decisión. ¿Ah? O ahorita votar para... What is supposed to be now?
No, she's in favor of making
Oh,
It's what,
I guess they're in favor of doing it, well, when you do it in Carlos, do it, passing the resolution now.
When would you send out the resolution?
I can send it up by the end of the week. I mean, I'll tell you tomorrow, but I'm not sure people will be at work tomorrow, so. As long as I have people in my office tomorrow, I can send it out tomorrow.
Oh,
You can,
I don't know, people that are here, I don't know if anyone has anything to say.
you can limit the response time to 15 days if you want to. If I have it out tomorrow, then by, say, the 15th of February, you have to have responded. And if the resolution's passed, then you need to get us a key as fast as you can or be home, and we'll do the program by the end of February. We can still get it done by the end of February. You just have to cut the response time down, which I don't think is a big issue. 15
Yeah.
days, but you get this in the mail on
Yeah.
Thursday or Friday, you don't need 15 days to think about
Yeah.
it. And there'll be an email address they can respond back to. What do you think, Andy? Should we just pass it out and let people respond and then?
I think either way is fine, especially for the courtesy key program. I don't think it matters one way or another whether you pass that today or not. If you want to give people the ability to maybe show up at the next board meeting and vocalize their thoughts on it, then you can do that. But really, even if you passed it, people would still come and show up on the February meeting to talk about it. So it just depends how much time you want to prepare people for the fact that this is going to happen. And conceivably, you could do all this even before the February meeting, so that everything would be said and done. I don't know that I would support doing it that way, just because then no one really has an opportunity to comment on it.
Other than the
Well, not
fact
at the
that
meeting.
they would get it written,
Right.
they would get it and be able
Right.
to respond back either by email or by in writing, which is, in 2 weeks is a pretty reasonable amount of time to respond back.
I think 2 weeks is probably reasonable, but, and so so if they didn't want to participate, then they would have to provide.
In the extermination program.
Right, if they didn't want to participate in the extermination program, they would have to provide some evidence that they have the Orkin contract or something along those lines, and they have to do that within 2 weeks, or otherwise
Just allow an inspection
allow the inspection.
to make sure that there's not an infestation.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's reasonable either way. I think it is safer to basically give people a longer period of time to respond to it, or say that you're gonna pass the resolution at the February meeting, but it's really not that big a deal.
It's not, I mean, procedurally, it's not a big deal. I think it's an important resolution. And be reluctant to just kind of dump it on people under the circumstances. I think it should be reviewed.
Yeah.
I think it shows good faith to at least send it out and let people have a chance to respond to it.
Right. Okay.
And you can even put in the notice that we're going to be voting on this, we're planning on passing this is probably going to pass at the February meeting. If you have comments about it, send us an email, show up to the meeting and talk about it, as to why we shouldn't do this. And it's going to happen, after we pass it in February, it's going to happen very quickly. This extermination is going to happen within 30 days.
Don't want to confuse people and think that then have people send me keys. I mean, I want to, happen. I mean, I would get it, now see a courtesy key program in a resolution, I go, all right, I'm going to get my key together and put it in the mail and send it back or drop it off wherever the designated drop point is. So I think the memo would be important in that case, and that's not a big deal, it's a short memo.
So we're asking the response on both the courtesy key program and the.
If you are not in favor of the, I always like the philosophy that if people don't respond, that they're in favor. I think it helps to get more things done. Because if you only have 3 people who are not in favor of it, my assumption is that there are 103 people who think it's a good idea. As opposed to, there's only 3 people who support it, or whatever. You know, or 6 that support it and 3 that don't. I think most people don't bother to respond if they're in favor of something. So I always assume the positive and only look at and try to address the negative. So I think we get people, you know, the end of this week is about give people till the 15th of February to respond in writing or by email regarding if they have any negative comments about it. Otherwise, it's going to be passed by the board at the February meeting and will go into effect immediately, which is what you just said.
Yeah.
Does that work? So that motion is to distribute the resolutions as we discussed, for review. Distributing for review.
Okay, should we make official motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I motion to send out the resolutions, and we're going to make it 15 days to respond.
Yeah, it'll be February 15th. You'll have till February 15th, which
So
I think
it's
is,
30.
yeah.
So send out the proposed resolutions.
Right.
All okay.
Thank you, 15 days to respond.
I second.
Okay. I called the trash company, called him 3 times already, and like I was promising that he's going to give me something, and he hasn't yet. So I mean, you know, Friday it rained and it was icy, and so I don't have any update on that. I'm still working with them, and once I get some information on the changes to service, then I'll let you know. For the time being, we've still got 5 dumpsters, and they're still getting dumped twice a week, which I think is 2 dumpsters 5 days a week would be the same amount of. They're 8-yard dumpsters. If they filled out, that would be 40 yards of trash per week. So if you had 2 dumpsters, 5 days, it would still be the same, whatever the math is, 80 yards. I just think it's a lot cleaner to have 2 dumpsters than to have 5, and it's easier. And we also would try to get the flat, the slanted openings in the front. So if you have larger items, you can lift the front up and throw the larger items in. The side things, you can't. And you can't reach up to the top of them and throw a big bag in. So usually when I'm out here, there's bags of garbage around there that are probably too big to put into the dumpster, which is why they get thrown on the ground. So I will update you on that as soon as I get some more information from American Disposal. And I've already had the guy's supervisor call me and apologize for him not getting this information. And when I called him last Wednesday, he was less apologetic, but he said he'll have me something for sure by Friday. So obviously he didn't do a very good job of that. I also didn't get a second proposal yet on the plumbing stack clean out from Vito. And I called them today, and they should have something by the end of the week at the latest. So, I did get a bid from All Plumbing to do the stack clean out at another property, and they actually started out at $200 per unit. Your price, this is on page 7. Your price was $100 per stack. I think there was 70, they've estimated 70 stacks. And we've discussed the process a couple of times. The basic idea is that we will flush all the debris out of the lines and run a camera and make sure the lines are intact. So at least we'll know, as our first accomplishment, we'll know that all of the drain lines are clean and functioning properly. So we get to check that off of our list. But I'll have to bring that up to you when I mean, there's no reason, it's not really any rush to do it in the middle of January or February anyway. Just part of the reason, well, it'd just be nice to get it taken care of, but it's still it's too cold to do, there's no reason why I can't do that in February.
What was the name of the other company?
Vito, the VITO, Vito Plumbing. They do, there's not a lot of companies that do the camera. The key to me is the camera, because they can go in and pump a bunch of high-pressure water into a line and not have any idea what's happening.
What's going on.
So they run the camera. The camera, I think, is actually on the nozzle that they put down to do that, so they can see the camera going down and make sure that the nozzle going down, so make sure that they're not in somebody's kitchen firing 60 pounds of water up through them. I have 3 extermination proposals. The third one I got today from Pest Now, which is your current company. I handed them out here. This one's actually, I think it's the best one, and I haven't really had a good opportunity to look at it. I think my exterminator was, you can just sort of toss it. I really like the guy. He's really good at what he does. He's kind of a small operation, and I think he's just a little bit more expensive than the other ones. Home Paramount just does some work for me right up the pike here, and works with Willie a lot. He likes them. But the Pest Now people seem to be pretty professional. They got this thing to me. It's very responsive to what we're looking for. So I will focus on that one, and it's just a separate handout. It wasn't.
Did you guys participate before? Because the previous board did something like this, where
Did
everyone
some-
was required to participate in the program.
What are you talking about?
Hey, yeah.
Like, did you guys participate in the program before? Because they opened up doors. People went home.
Who did?
The previous management
I don't know how they would have done that.
for the last one. But I don't know if we passed the resolution. I just remember. we
They just
voted
decided
on
they were going to do it? Well, you are, I mean, I think the resolutions make everything clean. I mean,
Yeah.
you have the authority, you have the legal authority to enter into somebody's home if you had a need to.
Mhm.
As long as, even to just inspect it, you just have to get people adequate notice.
Mhm.
And if they don't let you in, you have the right to use a locksmith, but I don't like to do that.
Yeah,
That's when
no, I
people
agree.
are
It's
sitting
a-
behind their door with a shotgun waiting for you to
Yeah.
open it, so. I don't go in unless I think there's a pretty good chance that people that want us to be there, so.
Yeah. But my
Anyway,
question was just, I don't know if anyone
I
got
don't
treatment
remember.
from Pest Now and what they thought.
I
Just
didn't
as-
remember calling this.
if you weren't there, they didn't go in.
I called in to see the.
I wasn't there and they did go in because they left a little sticky note saying Pest Now is treated differently.
Huh.
No,
Well,
I
I
didn't.
did find some old paperwork from 3 years ago, maybe, that they did a building wide. Is that possible?
Maybe 2 years ago.
It's
Yeah.
been that recent?
I wasn't.
I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, I got a proposal from Superior. The first one I want to talk about is the mice, since that seems to be the bigger issue. The object of this is to put the tamper-resistant stations. They're actually drilled into the ground, not drilled in, but they're I think of it, it's like a tent, they're staked in. Thank you. They're staked into the ground. They're projecting 80 of them. They're more familiar with the property than the other companies. I guesstimated 50. I figured about 5 per building, 5 or 6 per building. And they seem to think if we do both storage rooms and exteriors, that it's more like 80. It's $20 per station, so it's $1,600 to put 80 mice, rat stations around the property. And they're only $95 a month to come out and check the stations and make sure that the bait is in there.
This is
Because
Pest
hopefully,
Now.
hopefully it won't be there for long, and the problem will go away. If we do this, after these stations are put out, we're gonna go around the property and fill the holes, basically. We have a wire, it's kind of like steel wool, but it's a little heavier, that we put in the conduit holes. I mean, mice can climb up the walls, so we'll be out here with a ladder and a roll of this wire mesh and stuffing all the holes, or using caulking or whatever else, just to make sure that the mice can't get back into the building. So I think this is a must-do, and I think the proposal from Pest Now is the best one, and they're familiar with your property, and I would recommend that you approve that one. It's also less expensive. It's not necessarily, I mean, it's a larger upfront cost because they're putting more stations in, but it's also a better, let's see, Home Paramount was $200 a month, they were $150 a month to monitor, and my exterminator was $200 a month, and Pest Now is $95 a month. So what you spend a little extra on putting more stations out, but you'll definitely save it over the long run with the
Yeah.
maintenance of the stations. If you're interested in the treatment, I need a motion to approve the contract with Pest Now.
Usted dice que la de educación, que es un poco más barato mensual, aunque es un poco más cara para comenzar con los cosas por los botones. Pero a largo plazo se va a hacer mensual. Así que ya ellos conocen el proyecto.
What do you think?
So this is just for the outside.
Yeah, that's from us. It's for the inside also. They'll put the bait stations in the storage rooms, and if there's some reason to, they'll put them in laundry rooms, but they'll be out of the way, so they're not, like you're not tripping over them. 80 sounds like a lot, and it probably is. I expect at some point we'll be able to reduce the number by a good bit. But, you know, if you've got as big an issue with the mice as I've heard, then this is the way you address it.
So we don't currently, because I thought we currently have them, but we don't have this program.
We have them, you have them, but you have bait stations for the dumpster areas, but that's all you have. You don't have anything for the exterior of the buildings or the interior of the buildings. And if anybody wants to do treatment inside their home, they could contact Pest Now directly.
Yeah.
You have about $3,000 in the budget for extermination, so it's within the budget too.
Oh. How would the other program play into it? If it does pass?
You'd be a little bit over budget with both of them. But it's a one-time program, at least one more time this fiscal year, so it wouldn't be a large amount. But you would be over budget if you did both of them. By probably $1,000, which in the grand scheme of things, $1,500 worth of carpet in a home that got flooded the other day here, so $1,000 for a more important program is certainly well. You need to do this one. This one, I wouldn't, this one's easy. So I just need a motion to approve it. I think it's the best bid, and I think it's going to be the best service.
And we're looking now.
Motion?
I make a motion to approve the contract for rodent.
No, Superior, or Pest Now.
Pest Now, with Pest Now for the rodent treatments. Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
What problem off the books? Got a couple more things, let me see. Drafts and extermination. I already got the answer to I had a question about the due process resolution. You have passed it, I've managed to dig that up. And do you have anything else? Do you have anything? Not anything else? Or actually anything else that's
I have
happened?
one more thing, so about the bank issue.
Yes.
I took off Friday to go to the bank and try to get our money, and I was told that I was not on the account. And I showed them the signature card with my signature. So they looked me up, they said, yes, you're in our system, but you're not connected to any account. Well, it's not my fault that no one connected me. So the person made some phone calls, and I talked to someone else, and they said that they needed a contract with East Coast Management. It was signed, and then they could make new signature cards, and then eventually I could get what I wanted. And I said, no, I took today off to do this, and this is the only day I have to do it. And so they made a ton of calls, and they said no one could get in touch with NRP. It was like 9:30 on Friday morning. And so finally somebody talked to somebody at NRP, and they confirmed that it was okay to do what they were doing. So I got 2 checks, one for $189,000, and one for $93,500. So these are the two checks.
And they're both payable to Westbriar Condominium.
Yes, I double checked, Westbriar Condo Association.
Not Red Runner.
So, no.
So the 93,578 is the checking account,
So one, yeah. I was trying to figure out.
and then the rest of it is probably the money market plus whatever was in the one
Plus-
seater that matured?
Yes, the CDARS that matured was passed to savings, and so they were able to give me that.
I don't know, if I tried to copy on some of the emails I sent back and forth to NRP, and they said, you know, everybody always thinks this is a great deal, they can just, you know, they've introduced me, and I'm like, they won't talk to me. Like, I mean, they wouldn't even,
Yeah.
your signatory on the account, they wouldn't talk to you.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, this has always worked out great for everyone. I'm like, no, this doesn't work out great.
I know.
So just stop the nonsense. We've got it figured out now,
Yeah.
but just give us the rest of the stuff and let's be done with this and go away. But I had a couple, I thought they were pretty rude emails. Like, if you'd read the email, you'd have known that this is what we did. I said, I know you introduced me to them, but have you heard of the Patriot Act? They don't talk to people about bank accounts or taxes or anything else without a lot of verification of who you are and what you're doing. So,
Yeah, and one of the ones, Mark DeRoches, or I don't remember his full name, but he was one of the ones that was copied in the emails. And I asked him, did you see the emails? Because he acted like he had no idea what I was, who I was.
mhm.
And he said, yeah, I saw them, but I tried to call East Coast, but it went to the voicemail.
I talked to somebody today from Main Street though, so at least they just confirmed with me it was okay. I said, of course it's okay. I don't have anything to do with the account. I'm
Yeah.
not a signer on the account. I will put this in for one of the checks in the money market account at the Community Association Bank, which you already have. I'll just make sure that the
Oh, so
signature
you-
cards are updated.
Do you have access
That's
to
where
that
direct debits.
account?
Well, I'll be able to get that one. I don't think that'll be an issue. It's only got $400 in it.
Yeah,
so I don't think that'll be an
$400,
issue.
okay. Because I was told before that that was part of Main Street, but Main Street
No,
this
there-
time said no, it's not.
No. But there should still be two more CDs, two more CDs. They're CDs
Which
with other banks.
ones? Because the one that matured on the 22nd was the one that got passed to the savings.
Yeah,
That's what
there
they
were,
told
at the
me.
back of the financials, there were a couple of other ones. Well, it looks like the number says one. There's one for 30, that matures on September 24th of this year,
That's the one for 50,000.
50,068.
Yes.
Sound about right? The whopping 0.5%. The one that you cashed in was getting 0.23%. I mean, we get better than that on the money market account at CAB. I don't know why. Well, anyway, it's hard. You got to keep the money in separate banks. You only can have up to 250 in one bank. So I understand the logic of it. But I'll put it in the money market account. I had a roofing company come out and take a look at the roofs. Pretty much not going to. The option of a peak roof isn't really in the cards. They'll have a proposal. We should be able to review that one plus the ones we already have. I think it was two other ones we already have from Catchmark and somebody else. I'll confirm that they're still good. Hopefully we'll be able to make a decision at the February meeting about roofing. I think that's the first major project you need to handle. You have water. I think it's just a matter of time before the ponding water. And you guys have probably all seen the pictures of the ponds of water. They're bigger than this room and they're inches deep, and it's so deep in some places that when the wind blows, it blows the water off of the roof onto front stoops. I think 3708 has a constant ice problem because of the water blowing off of the roof. So just want to get that done. I want to get it done before we have a catastrophic failure and somebody, a bunch of units get flooded from that. So hopefully that'll get done in March. And I mentioned I try to send you emails to let you know what other things have been taken care of. We had a flood in 08, 3708, T2 or 3 was a behind the wall pipe that leaked. I have had at least 3 people call me recently with pipes in the ceiling that were leaking. We've had some laundry stuff we've dealt with. There's been a lot of plumbing related stuff, so that's the importance of getting all plumbing or Vito out here as soon as possible, at least to address that side of it. But it doesn't seem to be, I mean, the one that was the more significant leak, and it probably cost about $3,000 to do all the repairs, which isn't an insurance claim. Half of it was carpeting that needed to be replaced because the water sat there for a couple of days. But the problem was that the pipe was sitting was laying on a piece of wood. It wasn't that there was a problem with the pipe, it was laying on a piece of wood, and when you have a copper pipe and any other thing beside copper in contact, there's electrolysis, and eventually over years and years will develop a hole. That's what happened in this case. So there's just a small leak above a floor joist from the unit above that eventually collected enough water that he noticed it. By then it had ruined the carpet and some other things. So we're just keeping on top of them. You already have the full contract ready, so we don't have to talk about that. And so we'll do the roofing and the all plumber, and I think that's going to be it for the next one. We have a executive session for this evening to discuss a homeowner issue and to have a conversation with the attorney about legal issues. So unless you have something else, I don't have anything else. Homeowner time or?
If anyone has any comments, questions, now is the time to talk. If you would like. Si alguien tiene una pregunta o un comentario, ahorita se puede si uno quiere.
I thought I heard the phrase February assessment, and I didn't know what that meant.
The condo fee, February condo fee.
Oh, okay.
We haven't sent out the coupon, and I may just send them out and not confuse everything. I mean, I literally can have them, I can order them and have them mailed by, the reason I didn't want to order them yet is, part of it is that we're waiting to get the number, if I have direct debits, I don't have to order coupons. If I don't have to order coupons, it doesn't cost you any money for a coupon book. So if I just send out the paper assessment notice again, then, then we'll have more of the direct debits. So it has that financial benefit doing it that way. But I don't know whether it's too confusing to have two resolutions and a cover memo and an assessment. Andy seems to think that it is, and I think it's probably getting there too
much, I think.
So I'll just go with what we've got. I mean, the fiscal year ends in about 6 months anyway. I mean, that's sort of the one end, well, February through September is not that many months. So it's only going to be, it'll be a partial coupon book. When you get the coupon book, it will have we can do it two ways. The direct debits will be out of the Community Association bank account, which you have, which is actually in Arizona. It's a big old lockbox system. They process millions of checks, but it's in Arizona. So some people get the direct debits. Nobody cares. They don't care if it gets processed in Arizona or North Dakota or whatever. But if we order the coupons, they will include an option is to include an envelope and the coupon, and it can be mailed to the Arizona account as well, and their lockbox opens the mail and dumps it into the account. As an alternative, I can just have them mailed to my office until the end of this fiscal year, and then we can discuss whether we want to use the lockbox. It's not that many checks, it's probably about 90 checks a month, counting the delinquent homeowners and the direct debits. So, do you have a preference? Do you care if your check goes to Arizona, or? All right, so we'll make the executive decision. I'll probably just mail the coupons without envelopes and have it mailed to my address, my office address in Springfield.
And then you would be in charge of sending it to the
and it will get.
box?
No, I'll deposit them at the local bank.
Oh, okay.
So we'll take care of that. It doesn't matter. If you don't care, if you don't care where the check gets mailed, then I'm fine with that. I actually like, during the first few months of managing a community, I like to get the checks, because if we get a check from a homeowner who's at the attorney, then we have the check. And I also can update the account information, because I'll get a check from you it might have a different, something on your address might be a little different, or it just gives us a little bit of time to fix everything, so it's perfect when we get ready to order the coupons for the next time. Which again, it's 7 months, we'll be in a new fiscal year, so.
So you're gonna order the coupons really addressed to your
I'll order the
address?
coupons mailed to my address. There won't be any remittance envelopes in them. It'll be the most inexpensive way to order the coupons. And I'll do that by the end of this week also. Okay, we have more, I'm sorry, the condo fee.
Yeah, I thought, I heard assessment, and you were talking about the extermination, and I thought it was something to do with that.
There were people who
I'm
were
fine.
confused by the bill, because it said assessment notice at the top of it, and they
Yeah,
didn't
I
realize.
don't think of that term, so,
Yeah.
okay, I got it.
It's a condominium fee assessment. So it's just I guess it's a terminology that we use. Next time I send one out, it'll say condo fee notice. That way everybody will
Assessment
know.
is a scary word here.
Yeah, that's less scary, hopefully. I think we could do I think you have the resources to do the roofs without really having to dig too deep, and then we have to think about what happens next, longer term, with some of the other projects that need to be done. I have another engineer reviewing the reports for the balcony work that needs to be done. That's kind of scary because the railings would be expensive. If it was just repairing the balconies, it's something we could do in a year or two without any problem, but since the railings are not to code anymore, if the railings need to be replaced, then you have to go through a lot more of a process. And the railings are very expensive. There's no railings in the requirements, so I'll let you know about that as soon as I get an answer back from you on that. There are lots of things going on. I guess I keep mentioning different things at different times, but there's just a whole lot of stuff going on. We're trying to keep pushing it forward, and we accomplished a couple of good things this evening. So. Any other homeowner issues, questions, comments, concerns? Right. Do we need to motion? I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss homeowner issue and legal issues. That would be the motion.
Okay. I make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss a homeowner issue and